My name is Jennie Gray. I'm 28 years old, and for as long as I can remember, I've been invisible. I'm sitting in my cramped Seattle apartment at 11:47 p.m., staring at lines of code that blur together like digital rain. My phone buzzes against the cluttered desk. Another notification, another celebration I'm not part of. The family group chat lights up like Times Square on New Year's Eve. "SOPHIA Made Partner!" Dad's message appears first, followed by a tsunami of congratulations. Mom sends 3 champagne bottle emojis. Aunt Linda types in all caps about how proud she is. Uncle Mark shares a photo from Sophia's celebration at some fancy downtown restaurant. Her radiant smile, designer dress, champagne flute raised high like a trophy. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from. And if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. And me? I screenshot the messages and delete them immediately. Because this is how it's always been. I lean back in my secondhand office chair and close my eyes. The apartment feels smaller tonight. 1 bedroom, barely 600 square feet, with a kitchen that's more of a suggestion than a reality. Through my single window, I can see the Space Needle glowing in the distance, a reminder of how far I am from everything that matters. My phone buzzes again, a direct message from Sophia herself. "Wish you could have been here tonight, little sis. Maybe next time you can take a break from whatever it is you do all day." Whatever it is I do. If she only knew. I push back from my computer and walk to the bathroom mirror. The fluorescent light makes my reflection look tired, pale. 28 years old, and I still feel like that awkward kid hiding in the corner at family gatherings, the one everyone forgets to introduce, the one who brings potato salad to holiday dinners while Sophia brings stories about her latest courtroom victory. I remember Christmas when I was 12 and Sophia was 16. The living room looked like a Nordstrom explosion. Designer clothes, jewelry, a brand new laptop for Sophia's promising academic career. I got a used graphing calculator and a $20 gift card to Barnes & Noble. "You're so practical, Jennie," Mom said with that smile that never quite reached her eyes. "You don't need all that fancy stuff." But Sophia did. Sophia always did. Valedictorian at 17, full ride to Harvard Law, internship at the most prestigious firm in Boston before she even graduated. Every achievement announced with family-wide emails, social media posts, restaurant celebrations. The golden child who could do no wrong. And then there was me. MIT at 18, sure, but computer stuff isn't something you brag about at cocktail parties. A cybersecurity degree that made Dad's eyes glaze over when I tried to explain it. "That's nice, honey," he'd say, already turning towards Sophia's latest story about winning an impossible case. The irony would be funny if it didn't hurt so much. My phone rings, jarring me from the memories. Dad's name flashes on the screen. For a moment, I consider letting it go to voicemail. These calls always follow the same script. Small talk about weather, questions about work that he'll forget the answers to, and updates about Sophia's meteoric rise. "Hi, Dad. Jennie, sweetheart, I have some difficult news." The space between his words makes my chest tight. I sink onto my second-hand couch, suddenly grateful for its familiar lumps and tears. It's grandmother Evelyn, and I already know what's coming. She passed away this afternoon, peacefully, in her sleep. The phone slips from my hand, clattering onto the coffee table. Grandmother Evelyn. The only person in our family who ever really saw me. Who asked about my projects, not to be polite, but because she genuinely cared about the answers. Who built Gray Technologies from nothing in her garage and never let anyone tell her that a woman couldn't run a tech company. "Jennie, are you there?" I pick up the phone with shaking fingers. "I'm here. The funeral is Thursday. I know it's short notice, but I'll be there." The words come out stronger than I feel. "Whatever you need. Your sister's flying in tomorrow. I thought maybe you two could—" "Dad." I close my eyes. "Just tell me the details." After I hang up, I sit in the dark for a long time. The code on my computer screen has gone to sleep, leaving the apartment lit only by the city glow filtering through my thin curtains. Grandmother Evelyn is gone. The woman who taught me that quiet strength matters more than loud achievements, who told me stories about debugging her first computer program by lamplight because the company couldn't afford proper office lighting, who saw something in me that even I couldn't see. I book a red-eye flight to Portland, knowing that in less than 48 hours, I'll be sitting in another room where Sophia shines and I fade into the background, where everyone will console the successful daughter, while the other one, the forgettable one, grieves alone. But I owe Grandmother Evelyn this much. She believed in me when no one else did. The least I can do is say goodbye. The law office smells like leather and old money. Rich mahogany panels line the walls, interrupted by diplomas and certificates that scream legitimacy. I sit in the far corner of the conference room, trying to make myself invisible, in a chair that probably costs more than my monthly rent. Sophia sweeps in like she owns the place, which, let's be honest, she probably will soon enough. Designer black dress that somehow manages to be both morning appropriate and boardroom powerful. Her heels click against the hardwood with the confidence of someone who's never doubted their place in any room. Jennie. She air kisses me, her perfume a cloud of expensive florals. You look tired. Have you been sleeping? I'm fine, I mumble, smoothing my off-the-rack dress that suddenly feels even cheaper. Dad arrives with Uncle Mark and Aunt Linda, plus a handful of cousins I barely recognize. They cluster around Sophia like moths to a flame, offering condolences that sound more like congratulations, because everyone knows what's coming. Grandma Evelyn built Gray Technologies into a $50 million empire, and Sophia, brilliant, accomplished, golden Sophia, will inherit it all. It makes sense. She's the lawyer, the negotiator, the one with an MBA from Wharton. I write code. What would I do with a tech company? The lawyer, Mr. Whitmore, according to his brass nameplate, adjusts his glasses and clears his throat. Thank you all for coming during this difficult time. Mrs. Gray left very specific instructions about how she wanted her estate handled. Sophia straightens in her chair, already mentally redecorating the corner office. The house in Selwood, along with all furnishings and personal effects, goes to Thomas Gray. Dad nods, unsurprised. Various smaller bequests to charities and extended family members are detailed in Section 3. Mr. Whitmore pauses, and I swear the air gets thicker. As for Gray Technologies, including all assets, intellectual property, and controlling shares, Sophia's smile is radiant, triumphant. The entire company goes to Jennifer Gray. The words hit the room like a grenade. Someone's coffee cup clatters onto the table. Aunt Linda actually gasps. I feel my face go hot, then cold, then numb. I'm sorry, Sophia's voice sharp as broken glass. There must be a mistake. Mr. Whitmore doesn't even blink. No mistake, Miss Gray. Your grandmother was very clear about her wishes. I stare at him like he's speaking another language. $50 million, an entire company, employees, responsibilities, board meetings, decisions that affect hundreds of people's livelihoods. Me? This is insane! Sophia's mask slips, and for the first time in my life, I see her raw and unfiltered. Jennie doesn't know the first thing about running a business. She's a code monkey. Sophia, Dad warns, but she's past caring about appearances. No, this is ridiculous. Grandma was old, confused. Someone influenced her. Jennie probably... I didn't do anything. The words come out stronger than I intended. The room turns to look at me, and I shrink back into my chair. Mr. Whitmore reaches into his briefcase and pulls out an envelope. Mrs. Gray left this for you, Miss Jennifer. She insisted you read it today. My hands shake as I take the cream-colored paper. My name is written across the front in Grandma Evelyn's careful script. I can feel everyone's eyes on me as I break the seal. My dearest Jennie, if you're reading this, I'm gone. And you're probably wondering why an old woman would trust her life's work to someone everyone sees as the quiet one. Let me tell you what I see. I see a young woman who graduated from MIT at 20 with honors
and never once bragged about it, who solved a security problem for our systems last Christmas in 15 minutes that our paid consultants couldn't crack in 3 months, who chose substance over flash every single time. Sophia is brilliant, but she's never learned that real power doesn't need to announce itself. You have something she doesn't, the ability to see what others miss, to build what others can't imagine. Your sister conquers. You create. Gray Technologies needs a creator, not a conqueror. Trust yourself, my dear. You're stronger than you know. All my love, Grandma Evelyn. P.S. Check the safe in my office. The combination is your birthday. You'll understand when you see what's inside. I fold the letter with trembling fingers. The room has erupted in whispered conversations, Sophia's voice rising above the rest as she argues with Mr. Whitmore about contesting the will. Dad looks like he's been hit by a truck. The cousins stare at me like I've grown a second head. I need some air, I whisper, standing on unsteady legs. Outside, I lean against the building's brick facade and try to breathe. The Portland sky is gray and threatening rain, matching my mood perfectly. My phone buzzes with text messages. Cousins asking if they knew, friends who saw the news on social media, headhunters who have apparently already heard about my sudden fortune. But all I can think about is Grandma Evelyn's letter. You're stronger than you know. Am I? Because right now, I feel like that scared 12-year-old on Christmas morning, wondering why the calculator was the practical choice. Well, Sophia got the jewelry box. Sophia bursts through the office doors, her composure completely shattered. How could you do this to me? I didn't. Bullshit. Her voice cracks. You poisoned her against me, played the poor, overlooked granddaughter until she felt sorry for you. Sophia, that's not. I have worked my entire life to be worthy of this family. Perfect grades, perfect school, perfect job. Everything I did was to make her proud. And she gives it all to you, to someone who couldn't even be bothered to visit her more than twice a year. Her words hit like physical blows. Because part of me agrees. What do I know about running a company, about making decisions that affect hundreds of lives? I'm the girl who codes in her pajamas and orders takeout 4 nights a week.
Maybe, I start, my voice barely audible. Maybe we could what? Share? Sophia laughs, but there's no humor in it. Like we're kids dividing up Halloween candy? This isn't a game, Jenny. This is my future, my life. She turns and walks away, her heels echoing off to building walls like gunshots. I watch her disappear around the corner, and I realize something has fundamentally shifted between us. We were never close, but we weren't enemies either. Now, I'm not sure what we are. Dad finds me 10 minutes later, his face drawn with exhaustion. You okay, kiddo? I almost laugh. Okay? I've just inherited a tech empire I don't understand, destroyed my relationship with my sister, and become the family's newest disappointment, albeit a very wealthy one. She'll come around, he says, but his voice lacks conviction. Sophia just needs time to process. We both know he's wrong. Sophia doesn't process setbacks, she eliminates them. And right now, I'm the biggest setback of her life. As we drive to the hotel, I stare out the window at the Portland skyline and wonder what Grandma Evelyn saw in me that I can't see in myself. Because from where I'm sitting, I feel like the same invisible girl I've always been. Except now, the whole family is watching. The Gray Technologies office building rises 32 stories into the Seattle sky, all glass and steel ambition. I stand on the sidewalk looking up at it like an imposter in my best business casual outfit. 3 weeks since the will reading, and I still can't believe this is mine. The elevator to the executive floor moves too fast, making my stomach lurch. Or maybe that's just the nerves. I've been putting off this meeting with the board of directors for as long as possible, but the paperwork won't sign itself, and apparently a $50 million company can't run on autopilot forever. Miss Gray! A woman in an impeccable suit strides toward me as the elevator doors open. I'm Catherine Walsh, Director of Operations. We're so excited to finally meet you. She leads me through hallways lined with awards and photos of Grandma Evelyn shaking hands with tech leaders whose faces I recognize from magazine covers. My grandmother built this.
from nothing to this gleaming monument to innovation, and somehow she thought I could continue it. The boardroom intimidates me with its massive table and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Elliott Bay. 12 people in expensive suits rise as I enter, their smiles professional, but measuring. I recognize some faces from business magazines, people who've forgotten more about running companies than I've ever learned. "Jennifer," says an older man, I think is the CFO, "your grandmother spoke about you often. She was very proud of your work." My work. If only he knew that my work involves debugging security protocols from my apartment wearing yesterday's pajamas. The meeting is a blur of quarterly reports, expansion plans, and technical jargon that I mostly understand but feel unqualified to approve. I nod at appropriate moments, ask questions that I hope sound intelligent, and try not to think about how Sophia would have handled this with the confidence of someone born for boardrooms. When it's over, I escape to the executive office that still smells like Grandma Evelyn's lavender perfume. Her desk is exactly as she left it. Family photos, a coffee mug with "World's Best Boss" in faded letters, and a small safe tucked behind a bookshelf. "Your birthday," she'd written. I punch in 0815 and hold my breath. The safe opens with a soft click. Inside, a flash drive, a handwritten note, and a business card for someone named Director Rachel Monroe at the Department of Homeland Security. The note is brief. "The real work begins now. Trust Monroe. -E." I pocket everything and leave the office feeling more confused than when I arrived. Real work? What did she mean? 3,000 miles away, Sophia slams her apartment door hard enough to rattle the windows. Her Tribeca penthouse usually calms her. The view of Manhattan, the carefully curated art, the silence that money can buy. Tonight, it feels like a prison. She pours herself 3 fingers of bourbon and downs it in one burning gulp. The alcohol doesn't help. Nothing helps. 3 weeks of waking up to the reality that everything she worked for, everything she deserved, has been handed to her invisible little sister. Her phone buzzes. Another job headhunter, probably. Word travels fast in legal circles when someone loses a $50 million inheritance. Her colleagues whisper when they think she can't hear them. Poor Sophia. Must be devastating. What a shock. The worst part, the pity. She's Sophia Gray, Harvard Law Review, youngest partner in firm history, winner of cases that other lawyers frame on their walls. And now she's just the sister who got passed over for the family fortune. "Fuck," she says to her empty apartment and pours another drink. Her phone rings. David Sterling's name flashes on the screen. Her law partner, the one person at the firm who doesn't treat her like a charity case since the will reading. "Sophia, you sound upset." "Upset?" She laughs, but it comes out harsh. "I'm spectacular, David. Just fantastic."
"You know," he says after ordering them both another round, "I've been thinking about your situation." "My situation?" Sophia's voice could cut glass. "The inheritance thing. It's just wrong. You spent your whole life preparing to take over that company. You have an MBA from Wharton, for Christ's sake, and they give it to someone who probably doesn't know the difference between revenue and profit." The bourbon burns, but his words burn more, because he's right. She knows he's right. "Jennie's always been the favorite," Sophia admits, hating how bitter she sounds. "The quiet one. The special one. Like being unremarkable is somehow noble." "It's not noble," David says, leaning forward. "It's strategic. She played the long game. Made your grandmother feel sorry for her. Classic manipulation." Sophia wants to disagree, but the evidence feels overwhelming. Jennie, who barely visits, who never showed interest in the business, who can't even make small talk at family dinners, somehow she ends up with everything. "The thing is," David continues, swirling his drink thoughtfully, "problems like this don't have to be permanent. There are solutions, if you know the right people." Something in his tone makes Sophia look up sharply. "What kind of solutions?" "Oh, corporate law is full of creative interpretations, contested wills, mental capacity challenges, family disputes that require mediation." His smile doesn't reach his eyes. "Sometimes the most direct approach is the most effective." They sit in silence for a moment, the implications hanging between them like smoke.
Sophia knows David well enough to recognize when he's floating an idea that skirts the edge of legality. He's done it before, the kind of lawyer who wins by finding loopholes in the spirit of the law. "I might know someone," he says casually, as if discussing the weather. "Someone who specializes in solving impossible problems. Completely off the books, of course." Sophia's pulse quickens. "What are you suggesting?" "I'm not suggesting anything." David raises his hands innocently. "I'm just saying that, in my experience, problems that seem insurmountable often have surprisingly simple solutions, if you're willing to think outside traditional legal channels." When Sophia gets home that night, she sits in her perfect apartment with its perfect view and thinks about imperfect solutions. She pulls out her laptop and starts searching. Not for lawyers or legal challenges. Those would take years and might fail anyway. She searches for other things. Darker things. The kind of services that exist in the margins of the internet, where problems disappear and questions don't get asked. By 3 a.m., she's made contact with someone who calls himself Vincent, former client of David's, according to the encrypted message thread, someone who knows people, who can arrange meetings, who speaks in code about permanent solutions to temporary problems. The bourbon has worn off, but the anger hasn't. If anything, it's crystallized into something harder, more focused. Jennie stole her inheritance by playing the victim. Fine. Maybe it's time for some actual victimhood. Sophia closes her laptop and goes to bed, her mind already planning her next move. Because David was right about one thing. The most direct approach is often the most effective. And there's nothing more direct than making a problem disappear entirely. Back in Seattle, I can't shake the feeling that someone's watching me. It started small. A car that seemed to follow the same route as mine for too many blocks. A man in a coffee shop who always left right after I did. I tell myself it's paranoia. The stress of sudden responsibility making me jumpy. But the feeling persists. I'm walking home from Great Technologies after another overwhelming day of meetings when I notice him again. Same dark jacket, same careful distance. When I stop to look in a store window, he stops too. When I cross the street, he follows. My heart pounds as I quicken my pace. This is ridiculous. I'm being paranoid. Rich people don't get stalked by random strangers, and even if they did, I'm hardly living like a millionaire. Same apartment, same routine, same life, just with more zeros in my bank account and more anxiety in my chest. I duck into a Starbucks and order a coffee I don't want. Watching the door. He doesn't follow me inside, but through the window I can see him across the street pretending to check his phone. This is insane. I'm being insane. But when I finally leave the coffee shop, he's gone, and I don't see him again on the walk home. Later, safe in my apartment, I call Mia, my best friend since college, the one person who knew me before any of this craziness started. "Jen, you sound weird. Everything okay?" "I think someone's following me." "Following you? Like, stalking?" "I don't know, maybe. It's probably nothing. But even as I say it, I don't believe it." "Have you called the police?" "And told them what? That I saw the same guy twice in one day? They'd think I'm paranoid." "Maybe you should be paranoid," Mia says gently. "You just inherited $50 million. That kind of money makes people do crazy things." We talk for another hour, and she convinces me to at least consider taking a self-defense class. After we hang up, I deadbolt my door and check the locks twice before bed.
But sleep doesn't come easy. I lie awake thinking about Grandma Evelyn's safe, the flash drive I haven't looked at yet, the business card for Director Monroe. Real work, she'd written. What did that mean? And somewhere across the country, my sister is making plans that will change everything. Neither of us knows that we're both being watched, that our watchers are not who they seem, that in less than 2 weeks, the careful balance of our lives will explode in ways we can't imagine. The game has started. We just don't know we're playing yet. The restaurant Sophia chooses screams money and discretion. Le Bernardin's lighting is dim enough for secrets, expensive enough that the staff knows how to forget conversations they overhear. Vincent Castellano sits across from her, cutting his steak with surgical precision, every movement calculated. "You said you had a problem that needed solving," Vincent says, without looking up from his plate. He's exactly what David promised: smooth, dangerous, and completely without conscience. Former client, David had explained. Someone who operates in the gray areas where law and order blur into profitable opportunities. "It's a family matter," Sophia begins carefully. "Someone has something that belongs to me, something they obtained through questionable means." Vincent finally looks up, his dark eyes assessing. Family disputes can be complicated, emotional. Sometimes they require creative solutions. The words hang between them like a loaded gun. Sophia takes a sip of wine, buying time while her heart pounds. She's crossed lines before, bent the truth in depositions, hidden evidence that might hurt her cases, played legal games that skirted ethics. But this is different territory entirely. "How creative are we talking?" she asks. "Depends on the problem." Vincent leans back, his expression neutral. "Some issues can be resolved through negotiation. Others require more permanent solutions." Permanent. The word sends ice through her veins and fire through her resolve. She thinks about Ginny sitting in Grandma Evelyn's office, touching things that should have been Sophia's, making decisions she's not qualified for. The little sister who stumbled into a fortune while Sophia fought for every achievement. "There might be someone I'd like you to meet," Vincent continues. "A specialist, very discreet, very effective, handles problems that traditional methods can't address." Sophia nods, not trusting her voice. Vincent slides a business card across the table. No name, just a phone number in embossed black ink. "Text this number. Say Vincent sent you." They'll know what that means. 3,000 miles away, I'm debugging code in my apartment when I notice him again. Same dark jacket, different location. This time he's across the street from my building, pretending to read something on his phone. The paranoia I've been fighting for weeks crystallizes into certainty. Someone is definitely watching me. I close my laptop and move away from the window, my hands shaking. This is real. Whatever this is, it's real and it's escalating. The coffee shop yesterday, the grocery store last week, and now outside my home. Someone has been tracking my movements with military precision. My phone buzzes. Mia's name appears on the screen. "Jen, you called 3 times. What's wrong?" "He's back," I whisper, staying away from the windows. "The guy I told you about. He's outside my building." "Right now?" "Right now." I peek through the blinds. He's still there, and now I can see him more clearly. Mid-30s, athletic build, the kind of alert posture that suggests training. Professional training. "Okay, that's it," Mia says. "I'm calling the police." "No," the word comes out sharper than I intended. "Not yet. I need to think about this." "Think about what?" "Someone is stalking you, Ginny. This isn't normal paranoia." She's right, but something about this feels bigger than a simple stalker. The timing, the professionalism, the way he maintains distance while keeping me in sight. This isn't some random creep. This is surveillance. But surveillance by whom and why? After I hang up with Mia, I retrieve Grandma Evelyn's flash drive from my bedroom safe. I've been putting off looking at it for weeks, overwhelmed by everything else. But maybe it's time to understand what she meant by real work. The drive contains hundreds of files, technical specifications, government contracts, security protocols. My jaw drops as I scroll through document after document detailing cybersecurity systems I designed, systems that are apparently protecting critical infrastructure across the country. Water treatment facilities, power grids, air traffic control systems, hospital networks, all running security protocols I created, thinking they were just theoretical exercises for my consulting work. But these aren't theoretical. These systems are live, operational, protecting millions of people.
And according to the timestamps, they've been running for 3 years. 3 years? The same amount of time I felt like someone was watching me. My phone rings, making me jump. Unknown number. Miss Gray, this is Director Rachel Monroe. I believe your grandmother mentioned me? The voice is crisp, professional, with an underlying authority that makes me sit up straighter. The business card from the safe. Director Monroe, yes, she left your card. I think it's time we met. There are things about your work, your real work, that you need to understand. Are you available tomorrow? I look at my computer screen, at the evidence of 3 years of lies, at the window where a stranger watches my every move, at the inheritance that suddenly feels less like a gift and more like a burden I don't understand. Yes, I think I need to understand everything.
Sophia's hands don't shake as she transfers the money. $50,000 moved from her personal account to an untraceable cryptocurrency wallet. The number Vincent gave her proved to be exactly what he promised, a connection to someone who solves problems that can't be solved through legal channels. The man she met with calls himself Marcus, though she doubts that's his real name. Former military, he claimed, specializes in making things disappear. People included. Your sister has a routine, Marcus had explained in a voice devoid of emotion. Jogs through Discovery Park every Tuesday and 3D evening. Same route, same time. Predictable. Predictable, like everything about Jennie. Even her exercise habits are boring and methodical. Timeline, Sophia had asked, surprised by how steady her own voice sounded. 2 weeks. Gives me time to study the route, identify the optimal location, make it look like a random attack. Seattle's had issues with park safety lately. Your sister will just be another statistic. Another statistic. Sophia signs into her online banking and confirms the transfer. In 2 weeks, Jennie will be jogging through the park she loves, and she won't be coming home. The inheritance will revert to the next in line, the daughter who actually deserves it. Her phone buzzes with a confirmation text. Package delivered, timeline confirmed. Sophia deletes the message and pours herself a glass of wine. She should feel guilty, horrified, something. Instead, she feels relieved. For the first time in weeks, she can see a path forward, a way to reclaim what's rightfully hers. Tomorrow, she'll practice her alibi. A dinner meeting with clients, perfectly documented, witnesses who'll swear she never left Manhattan. By the time anyone finds Jennie's body, Sophia will be 3,000 miles away with an airtight excuse. Discovery Park at sunset is beautiful and isolated. I've been jogging these trails for 3 years, finding peace in the rhythm of my feet against the packed earth, the way the trees filter the dying light. Tonight, the beauty feels ominous. I almost didn't come. The meeting with Director Monroe this afternoon shattered everything I thought I knew about my life. The truth is so much bigger and more terrifying than I imagined. I'm not just a software developer. I'm a classified asset. My cybersecurity systems don't just protect infrastructure, they're the backbone of national defense. 3 years ago, when I thought I was doing theoretical work for a government consulting firm, I was actually designing protocols that keep foreign hackers from shutting down the electrical grid or poisoning water supplies. You're one of 5 people in the country who understand these systems completely. That makes you extraordinarily valuable and extraordinarily vulnerable. The surveillance I've been noticing isn't harassment, it's protection. Federal agents keeping watch over an asset too important to lose. The watchers are supposed to be invisible, but apparently my paranoia has gotten better at spotting them. We call it protective surveillance. Most subjects never know we're there. Most subjects, like I'm some kind of lab rat. But tonight, I needed normal. I needed the trails and the sunset and the illusion that my life still makes sense. So I'm jogging despite Monroe's suggestion that I vary my routine, despite the voice in my head screaming that nothing is safe anymore. The trail curves through a section of old-growth forest, my favorite part of the route. The canopy blocks most of the remaining daylight, creating shadows that seem to move independently. My footsteps echo off the trees,
unnaturally loud in the gathering dusk. That's when I see him. Not the man who's been watching my apartment. Someone else. Taller, broader, moving through the trees parallel to the trail with the fluid grace of a predator. When I speed up, he matches my pace. When I slow down, he adjusts accordingly. This isn't surveillance. This is hunting. My heart hammers against my ribs as I force myself to keep jogging, to look casual while every instinct screams at me to run. The nearest trail exit is half a mile ahead. Too far. Way too far.
The man steps onto the trail behind me. Jennie Gray. His voice is calm, professional. I turn around slowly, my hands raised in a gesture that's part surrender, part defense. He's exactly what I expected and nothing like I feared. Mid-30s, average height, wearing dark clothes that blend with the shadows. His face is forgettable, the kind of features that wouldn't stand out in a crowd. Perfect for someone who needs to disappear. You know who I am, I say. It's not a question. I know who you are. I know what you're worth. And I know why I'm here. The words hit me like ice water. This isn't random. This isn't some park predator who happened to target me. This is planned, professional, specific. Who hired you? He doesn't answer, just takes a step closer. I back away, my mind racing through options. The trail is isolated, no other joggers in sight. My phone has no signal in this part of the park. The nearest road is too far to reach before he catches me. Please, I whisper. I have money. Whatever they're paying you, I can pay more. Something flickers across his face. Surprise, maybe, or confusion. This isn't about money. Another step closer. I can see his hands now, steady and empty. No weapon visible, but that doesn't make him less dangerous. Someone who kills for a living doesn't need weapons. Then what is it about?
He stops walking, his head tilted like he's listening to something I can't hear. When he looks back at me, his expression has changed. Less predator, more protector. My name is Blake Harrison, he says slowly. Agent Blake Harrison. I'm with the Secret Service. The words don't compute. What? I've been assigned to your protection detail for 3 years, Miss Gray, and your sister just paid me $50,000 to kill you. The forest spins around me. Protection detail, Secret Service, sister. The pieces slam together in my mind, forming a picture too horrible and too perfect to be anything but true. Sophia, I breathe. Agent Harrison nods grimly. We intercepted her communications 2 weeks ago. She thinks she hired an assassin, but she contacted federal agents instead. We've been monitoring her activities since the will reading. I think onto a fallen log, my legs unable to hold me up. She wants me dead? She wanted the inheritance. We're going to give her something else entirely. He reaches into his jacket and I flinch, but he only pulls out a phone. Director Monroe, it's Harrison. We're ready for phase 2. As he talks in code I don't understand, I stare up at the darkening sky and realize that everything, absolutely everything, has been a lie. The secure facility looks like every government building in every movie. Beige walls, fluorescent lighting, and the kind of institutional furniture that screams, "Your tax dollars at work." Agent Harrison leads me through corridors that require 3 different keycards to access. Your work, Director Monroe explains once we're seated in a windowless conference room, has prevented 14 major cyber attacks in the past 2 years. Power grids that would have left millions without electricity, hospital systems that would have shut down life support, water treatment plants that could have poisoned entire cities. The weight of it crashes over me like a wave. 14 attacks, millions of lives, and I thought I was just debugging theoretical problems. Why didn't you tell me? My voice cracks. 3 years of thinking I was nobody important? Because nobody important was exactly what we needed you to be, Monroe says gently. The moment you know you're protecting national infrastructure, your code changes, becomes defensive instead of innovative. Fear makes programmers conservative.
She slides a tablet across the table showing classified documents, attack logs, threat assessments. My work, translated into the language of national security. Your sister's plot gave us an opportunity, Monroe continues, to reveal your importance and offer you a choice. Stay in the shadows or step into the light. But know that either way, you're under protection for life. Meanwhile, Sophia paces her apartment, checking her phone every 30 seconds. Marcus should have contacted her by now. The hit was scheduled for tonight. A simple text confirming completion. Her doorbell rings at 11:47 p.m. NYPD, open up. The words hit her like a physical blow. Through the peephole, she sees badges, uniforms, federal agents in suits. Too many to count. Sophia Gray, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder. The handcuffs are cold against her wrists. As they read her rights, she sees David Sterling being led out of the building in similar restraints. Her enabler, her partner in planning, caught in the same web. I want my lawyer, she says, but her voice sounds small, defeated. You'll need one, Agent Harrison replies, appearing from behind the federal agents. Attempted murder of a federal asset carries a life sentence. Federal asset. The words pierce through her denial like bullets. Jennie wasn't just the family disappointment who stumbled into an inheritance. She was someone the government considered worth protecting. The interrogation room is everything Sophia expected and nothing she was prepared for. Detective Amanda Foster sits across from her, flanked by federal agents whose badges carry more authority than Sophia's law degree. Let's start simple, Detective Foster says. Vincent Castellano has already given us your communications, the money transfers, the meeting locations. Your law partner, David Sterling, is cooperating fully. Sophia's throat closes. David, her collaborator, her enabler, already selling her out to save himself. The man who planted the seeds of this plan, abandoning her the moment consequences arrived. You hired what you believed was a professional killer to murder your sister for a $50 million inheritance, except the killer was a federal agent, and your sister is a classified government asset whose death would have constituted an act of terrorism. Terrorism. The word echoes in my mind. She'd thought she was solving a family problem, reclaiming what belonged to her. Instead, she'd stumbled into federal crimes with sentences measured in decades. I want to see her. See who? My sister, Jennie. I need to explain. The agents exchange glances. That can be arranged, Foster says finally. But understand, anything you say to her will be recorded and can be used in court. The federal holding facility feels like a hospital designed by people who hate sick people. Sterile, fluorescent, cold. I sit across from Sophia in a visiting room that smells like disinfectant and broken dreams. She looks smaller somehow. The designer clothes, replaced with an orange jumpsuit that washes out her complexion. The confidence I always envied, stripped away, leaving someone who looks lost and very young. You're really some kind of government asset, she says. It's not a question. I write code that protects infrastructure. I didn't know how important it was until yesterday.
And I tried to have you killed for an inheritance. Her voice breaks. Jesus, Jennie, what kind of person does that make me? I study her face, looking for the sister I grew up with beneath the jealousy and entitlement. It makes you someone who lost sight of what matters. I was so angry, she whispers, so tired of being perfect and getting nothing, while you stumbled into everything. It felt like cosmic injustice. I never stumbled into anything, Sophia. I worked. I just worked quietly. She nods, tears cutting tracks down her cheeks. I know that now. I think I always knew, but I couldn't admit it. Admitting you deserved what you got meant admitting I deserved what I didn't get. For the first time in my life, I see my sister clearly. Not the golden child or the jealous antagonist, but a woman who built her identity on external validation and crumbled when the validation stopped coming. I've been offered a choice. I tell her. Stay hidden or go public. Take a position where I can work openly. What will you choose? I think about Grandma Evelyn's letter, about Agent Harrison's quiet protectiveness, about Director Monroe's respect for my work, about 3 years of believing I was invisible when I was actually indispensable. I'm tired of hiding, I say finally. I'm going to step into the light. Sophia nods, something like pride flickering in her eyes. Good. You should. You are always braver than me. And you're going to prison. Yeah? She wipes her nose with the back of her hand. Yeah, I am. For a long time. We sit in silence for a moment, two sisters who finally understand each other when it's too late to matter. I'm sorry, she says, as the guard signals our time is up, for everything. For not seeing you, for trying to destroy you, for being the sister you deserved better than. I'm sorry too, I reply, surprising myself, for not fighting harder to be seen, for letting you carry the weight of being perfect. As they lead her away, I realize this is probably the last real conversation we'll ever have. The thought should devastate me. Instead, it feels like freedom. 6 months later, I stand at a podium in the Ronald Reagan Building in Washington, D.C., looking out at an audience of cybersecurity professionals, government officials, and journalists. The nameplate in front of me reads, Director Jennifer Gray, National Cybersecurity Initiative. 6 months ago, I was debugging code in my pajamas. Today, I'm testifying before Congress about the future of digital infrastructure protection. The attacks we've prevented, I tell the audience, represent a new kind of warfare, silent, invisible, capable of crippling our society without firing a single shot. The power grid failures, the hospital ransomware attacks, the water system breaches, these aren't random crimes, they're coordinated assaults on the foundation of American life. The words flow with a confidence I never knew I possessed. 3 years of hiding behind anonymity, and it turns out I'm actually good at this. At speaking truth to power, at making complex technical concepts accessible, at leading teams of brilliant people who no longer have to pretend I'm just another programmer. After my testimony, I find Blake waiting in the hallway outside the hearing room. Agent Harrison, I still think of him sometimes, though he transitioned out of protective services when my cover was blown. Hard to maintain professional distance when someone saved your life, even if the threat turned out to be manufactured. How'd it go? He asks, falling into step beside me. Senator Williams asked if I thought my sister's actions were motivated by foreign influence. I shake my head. Some people need conspiracy theories when family jealousy is too mundane an explanation. Politicians love complexity, makes them feel important. We walk through the marble corridors of power, past portraits of men who shaped history from similar halls. The weight of it still amazes me, that my work matters enough to warrant congressional hearings, that my testimony influences policy, that the quiet girl from Seattle has a voice in national security. My phone buzzes. A text from Mia. Saw you on C-SPAN. You looked like you belong there. Proud of you. Mia, who adjusted to my new reality with the grace of a true friend, who didn't care that I'd been lying about my work for years, who understood that some secrets are necessary even between best friends. She's coming to dinner tonight at my new apartment, the one with actual space, natural light, and a view of the Washington Monument that reminds me every morning how far I've traveled from that cramped Seattle studio. Dinner at 8? Blake asks as we reach the building exit. 7:30. Mia's bringing dessert. It's taken months to figure out how to navigate a relationship that began with him pretending to be my assassin. Trust builds slowly when it starts with professional deception, but Blake has proven patient with my questions, my need to understand every detail of how long he'd been watching, what he had observed, why he chose to reveal himself when he did. I knew within 10 minutes of meeting your sister's contact that the whole operation was amateur hour, he had explained during one of our early real conversations. Vincent Castellano couldn't organize a federal crime if we gave him a manual, but Director Monroe saw an opportunity. Let the threat play out, use it to finally bring you into the light. The light.
It's taken adjustment, living without secrets, having colleagues who know my real work, friends who understand why I sometimes can't talk about projects, a relationship with someone who's seen me at my most vulnerable and most powerful. My phone rings as Blake hails a taxi. Unknown number, but I recognize the area code. Virginia. Federal prison. Jenny? Sophia's voice sounds different through the prison phone system. Smaller, but somehow clearer. I know you're busy. I wanted you to know I saw your testimony on the news. I step away from the taxi, Blake giving me space, but staying close enough to intervene if needed. We've talked twice since her sentencing. Brief, awkward conversations that felt like surgery without anesthesia. How are you doing? I ask, because what else do you say to your sister in federal prison? I'm okay, really. Better than I expected. She pauses, and I can hear other voices in the background, the institutional sounds of controlled living. I've been in therapy, court mandated at first, but I asked to continue. Turns out I have some things to work through. That's good, Sophia, really. The therapist says jealousy was just the surface, that I built my whole identity around external validation. And when that system failed me, I couldn't cope. Another pause. She's helping me figure out who I am when I'm not performing for an audience. I think about the little girl who always had to be perfect, who carried the weight of family expectations like a crown that was also a cage. Maybe prison is giving her something she never had before, the freedom to be imperfect. I'm proud of you, she continues, and I can hear tears in her voice. For stepping forward, for using your voice, for being brave enough to be seen. I know I'm the last person who should say this, but you deserved recognition years ago. Thank you. The words feel inadequate, but necessary. That means more than you know. I've got to go. Phone time is limited. But Jenny, I want you to know that seeing you succeed doesn't hurt anymore. It makes me happy. Finally. The line goes dead, leaving me standing on a Washington sidewalk with tears on my cheeks and Blake's concerned eyes on my face. You okay? Yeah. I wipe my eyes and smile. I think I am. The taxi takes us through the city as evening settles over the Capitol. Past the White House, where I've now attended 3 security briefings, past the Capitol, where my testimony will influence legislation, past the monuments to leaders who faced their own moments of choosing between safety and visibility. 6 months ago, I thought my worth depended on my family finally seeing me. I waited for their approval, their recognition, their validation that I mattered. But worth isn't democratic. It doesn't require a family vote or unanimous consent. I learned something crucial in that conference room with Director Monroe, in that visiting room with Sophia, in those late-night conversations with Blake about duty and purpose and the courage to be authentic. Your value doesn't shrink just because someone can't see it. You define it by the life you build, the work you do, the people you protect. I never needed their applause. I just needed to stop waiting for it. The light is better than the shadows. Trust me on this one. My name is Jennie Gray. I'm 29 years old, and 18 months ago, my sister tried to have me killed. I'm standing in my corner office on the 7th floor of the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Agency building, watching another DC sunset paint the Potomac gold. The office still feels surreal. Mahogany desk, government-issued awards lining the walls, a secure phone that connects me directly to the Pentagon. Sometimes I catch my reflection in the bulletproof windows and wonder if that confident woman in the designer suit is really me. The quiet girl from Seattle who used to debug code in her pajamas. Today marks exactly 1 year since Sophia's sentencing. 15 years in federal prison for conspiracy to commit murder of a federal asset. The judge had been particularly harsh about the national security implications. He said, "You didn't just attempt to kill your sister. You attempted to eliminate a critical component of America's digital defense infrastructure." My phone buzzes against the desk. A message from the prison communication system.
Jennie, it's Sophia. I know today's probably hard for you, anniversary and all. I've been thinking about you.
I stare at the message for a long moment. We've exchanged maybe 20 messages in the past year. Careful, awkward attempts at rebuilding something that was never really built to begin with. Prison has changed her writing style. Less polished, more honest. The corporate lawyer voice replaced by something raw, more human. The secure line rings. Blake's voice, professional but warm. Director Gray, your father is here for his appointment. Send him in. Thomas Gray enters like he's walking into a museum exhibit about his own failures. He's aged in the 18 months since everything exploded. More gray hair, deeper lines around his eyes, the posture of a man carrying guilt he's still learning how to process. Jennie. He settles into the chair across from my desk, hands clasped like he's praying. This never gets easier. What doesn't? Sitting in this office, seeing what you built while we were all missing the point entirely. I lean back in my leather chair, government issued but surprisingly comfortable, and study my father, the man who taught me to ride a bike and balance a checkbook, but never learned to see past the surface of his own children. I got Sophia's latest letter yesterday. She mentioned you two have been talking more. A little. It's complicated. Everything about this family is complicated. He looks around the office, taking in the classified document safes, the secure communication equipment, the weight of federal authority that hangs in the air. She told me what really happened, not just the murder plot. Everything. What you actually do. What you've been doing for years. The silence stretches between us like a bridge neither of us knows how to cross. I want to be angry. Part of me still is. 30 years of being invisible, of having my achievements dismissed as computer stuff, of watching Sophia get celebrated for winning cases while I was literally protecting national infrastructure. But anger is exhausting, and I've learned something in this job about choosing battles worth fighting. Dad, we've been through this. No, we haven't. Not really. His voice cracks. You've been polite. You've been forgiving. You've let me off the hook because that's who you are. But I need to say this, and you need to hear it. I wait. Your mother and I failed you. Not in small ways. Not in parenting mistakes that every family makes. We failed you fundamentally. Systematically, for decades. He looks up at me with eyes that mirror my own. We saw what we wanted to see. Sophia was loud, successful in ways we understood. Corporate law, fancy dinners, achievements we could brag about at parties. Dad, please, let me finish. He takes a shaky breath. You were quiet, working in a field that felt foreign to us. So we took the easy path. We assumed you didn't need attention, celebrations, support. We told ourselves you were independent. I was independent. No, you were neglected. And there's a difference. Independence is something children develop when they feel secure enough to explore. What we gave you was abandonment disguised as respect for your autonomy. The words hit harder than I expected. Because they're true, and because hearing him say them feels like something I didn't know I needed. You're protecting water treatment plants while we thought you answered help desk calls. You were preventing cyber attacks on hospitals while we worried about whether you'd ever make enough money to be comfortable. You were literally keeping the lights on for millions of people, and we couldn't be bothered to understand what you did for a living. My phone buzzes again. Another message from Sophia. She wants to talk, I tell him. On the phone. I'm not sure I'm ready. Talk to her, he says without hesitation. Don't make my mistakes. Don't let pride or hurt keep you from connection when connection is still possible. After he leaves, I sit alone in my office as DC settles into evening. The city lights flicker on like digital signals, and I think about the infrastructure humming beneath it all.
Power grids, communication networks, water systems, all protected by code I helped write. Code that started as theoretical exercises and became the backbone of national defense. I pick up my personal phone and call the prison. Jennie? Sophia's voice comes through the static of institutional phone systems, but it sounds clearer than it has in years. Less performance, more person. Hi, Sophia. I got your messages. I wasn't sure you'd call. Today's gotta be strange for you. Everything about this is strange. How are you really doing? Better than I have any right to be, she says, and I can hear the honesty in it. I know that sounds impossible, but prison saved my life. Not from you, from myself. Tell me what you mean. I was drowning, Jen. In my own expectations, my need to be perfect, to win everything, to prove I deserved love and respect. It was killing me, slowly, and I didn't even realize it until everything collapsed. I think about the golden child who carried the weight of family hopes, like armor that eventually became too heavy to bear. The therapist here, Dr. Martinez, she's been helping me understand that worth isn't a competition, that your success doesn't diminish mine, that love isn't a limited resource that gets used up when someone else receives it. That's a hard lesson.
The hardest, but necessary. She pauses, and I can hear other voices in the background, the institutional sounds of controlled living. I spent my entire life performing for an audience. Grades, law school, the firm. Everything was about proving I deserved to be the favorite. But favorites are chosen by other people. Worth has to come from inside. When did you realize that? When I was sitting in that interrogation room, listening to them explain that I'd tried to kill a federal asset, that my little sister, the one I'd dismissed as irrelevant, was protecting critical infrastructure, the one whose quiet work mattered more than all my loud achievements combined. Tears blur my vision. Sophia. No, let me say this. Please, I need to say this. Her voice steadies. I heard about your testimony last month, the cybersecurity legislation that passed because of your recommendations. Knowing that my sister is out there making the world safer, protecting people who'll never know her name, it makes me proud. Really, genuinely proud. Thank you. I have 14 years left here, maybe less with good behavior and continued therapy. When I get out, I'd like to try being sisters again. Real sisters, not performers competing for an audience we don't even respect. I'd like that too. I've been reading about cybersecurity, trying to understand what you actually do. It's incredible, Jen. The systems you've designed, the attacks you've prevented. I can't believe I spent so many years not seeing it. It was classified. You couldn't have known. I could have asked better questions. I could have cared more about your answers. I could have seen that someone graduating from MIT at 20 might be doing something more complex than tech support. We talk for another 20 minutes about her therapy, about my work, about Dad's awkward attempts to rebuild relationships he'd never properly built in the first place. When the call ends, I sit in my office feeling lighter somehow, like I've been carrying a weight I didn't know was there. Blake finds me an hour later, still sitting in the dark. Everything okay? He flicks on the lights, and I blink against the sudden brightness. Yeah, actually, I think it is. Your sister? My sister. I gather my things, ready to head home to the life I've built in the light. She's learning who she is when she's not performing. Turns out she's someone I might actually like. Blake smiles, the expression that first made me trust him back when I thought he was hired to kill me. People can change. Some people, when they want to badly enough.
We ride the elevator down together, past floors full of analysts and agents and administrators who work in shadows to keep the lights on. People whose names will never be on buildings or monuments, but whose quiet work protects everything that matters. Outside, DC hums with the electricity I help protect, the communications I help secure, the infrastructure I help defend. 18 months ago, I thought my worth depended on my family finally seeing me. I waited for their approval, their recognition, their validation that I mattered. But worth is not up for a family vote. Remember that when the voices get loud and the opinions feel heavy. Remember that when the golden children get the spotlight and you're standing in the wings. You define your value by the life you build and the peace you protect, in shadows or in light. I see you, even when no one else does. Especially then. If you've ever been the quiet one, the overlooked one, the one whose work happens behind the scenes while others take the bow, drop a comment below. Your story matters. Your work matters. You matter. Whether they see it or not. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.